Welcome back, Generals, to another Let's Fix Generals 0 Hour to make the best game ever. Okay, so last session we did say we want to decouple the camera zooming and rotation from the frame rates. So how do we do that? So the question is, do we have to move out the value from the zoom in function? This one. This value. Maybe. Maybe. So we will have to... I suspect we have to do it similar to how we did it here. We have to get a logic timescale FPS. Yeah. Divided by current FPS. Yeah, but what if the FPS is slower? That's fine. Yeah. We do the same as here. And maybe... Maybe this update here should run in its entirety on the logic frame. But no, that's not right. Because then this one will have steps. It won't be smooth. Oof. Okay, let's just focus on the camera stuff down here. Yeah. Okay, would it make sense to move this to a different update? Probably not, because then the angle and the zoom steps, they wouldn't be smooth anymore. Yeah. So it has to be here, but we have to scale them. What did this return again? Max FPS. I don't see any other good way here. If we move it to another update that is tied to logic, then we lose a precision. Wondering if we the only problem with this is that it lags behind, right? This is always from the last frame, this FPS, right? I would say we add another condition here if that or that or that or that. And then here we say angle const real angle. Angle this. And we multiply this by this. And then here we do, how do we call it? Zoom step, zoom distance, zoom height, const real height, 10.0f times this. So and here we pass the angle, and here we pass the height. Put here rear height. View. Let's go to zoom in. Okay, there's none in W3D view. That's good. Okay, let's search for this. If there's another place that's calling it. Here. Mouse wheel. Same there. Spin. Game engine. Const real height 10.0f times that. Stop scrolling. Let the message drop through, because we need to process this message for selection as well. Huh? does this do? Is this fall through intentional or is this a mistake? Meta options. Stop scrolling. I don't quite understand what this is here. This comment, I don't understand why this is here. Is this intentional? I don't know. Let's see what happens if we don't break here. If we don't call this here. Okay, we set the logic to 30, FPS to 90. Scrolling works. That's very fast. That's very fast, yeah. Okay, looks like that didn't work. That's interesting. Stop scrolling. So it means Okay, so somehow things don't work correctly. Why not? Oh, because it didn't install, that's why. Okay, so there's that. Let's do 90 FPS, and that works well. Oh, but oof, the camera, the rotating doesn't work. Why not? Angle 0.33. That looks about right. Okay, so it looks like it does work here, but why is it stopping? That's weird. That's very weird. Normalize angle. Set angle. Set angle. There's the angle. This one looks okay. Yeah. Okay, right now I have no clue why it won't work. That's weird. It moves a tiny bit, but then it stops. There's some tiny movement here. I have the impression that maybe the movement is so tiny that... No. That works. Oh. Both buttons rotate into the same direction. What is this? Oh. I probably got this here wrong. You know, why don't we... How about... How about we add a new function here? Virtual voids zoom. Real heights. Zoom in, out. Closer to the ground. Or farther away from the ground, limit to max. Then we can remove these two here. Then here we say zoom. Zoom. Then here we say zoom. Zoom in. Minus times this. So let's put a height const expr. Zoom in minus height times that. And then on the angle, we have to check what it was before. Oof. So that is angle. Maybe we simplify that too. That's okay. Okay, so logic 30 and render 90. Okay, that looks good. And that is still broken. Why? At least it moves now into the correct directions, at least for a moment. What did I get wrong here? Angle minus, we need to scale. We need to just scale this here, right? How fast the camera rotates. What is this value? 0.1. Okay, so I think what we need to do, we need to scale this guy. So remove these. Maybe we can make it more explicit by putting it here. Okay. Now that explains the issue. Basically, we multiply the angle by some ratio, and that lowers the angle. Yeah. The angle is probably radians. And so you multiply radians by this ratio. It doesn't seem right. Okay. Aha, there we go. Okay, that looks good. Fantastic. Okay, that works. I think we can remove some of the comments here. I mean, this is pretty obvious. Do we need... I mean, it's... I don't think we need this comment here. Let's remove them all. I think we can also put an else if here. If zoom in and not zoom out. We could also remove this condition here, I think. If we are zooming in and not zooming out, then we go in here, and then this is implicitly false. Yeah. Yeah, I think we can remove this here. Same here. Okay, what about the scrolling? It's very slow. Oof. But it's the same. Okay, that works. Okay, let me get back to this one. How about we call this zoom height? And then we I want to test what happens if we remove this here. Okay. I have no idea what that would change. Stop scrolling. I have no idea. It seems to have no effect. You know what? Let's just leave it the way it was. How about that? Yeah. Look at it another time. We don't care. Okay, I will also revert this because it's not really related. Oof. Okay. Okay, so this is fix camera zoom and rotation speeds. Okay. Yeah, so we have done a couple things now. In the in-game UI, let me see if there's something else that looks interesting for decoupling. So there's this camera, control bar updates. Well, there's probably more here that's, yeah. There's probably so much more that we could decouple. It will never end. There's like the text speeds, control bar, how it moves, transition. Oof. Yeah, the subtitle text, scrolling. Yeah, but I think for starters, this is probably good enough. There was a comment on one of my recent videos here. Here, let me get that in the view here. Mr. Alcatraz 86 with with a cat in the bag. He wrote terrible way of implementation. If you must do it in engine code, bind it to time, not frames. Shake offset amplitude times sinus frequency times time elapsed, and multiply by delta time in your update loop. So it's consistent regardless of FPS. Okay, what is he referring to? What did I do in this video? Camera shaker, yes. Okay, I don't know what he's referring to. Let's search for the shake offset. My first instinct here, though, is that so right now I have no clue if it makes sense what he says, but the way he starts his introduction here makes me believe that there's no substance, because programmers typically don't start a review with this kind of wording, because it already starts in a discouraging way, right? Like typically you don't do this when you do code reviews. Typically you just say this can be done better in this or this way. You don't say that this is a terrible or amateur way or bad way, or yeah. Typically you choose more encouraging words, but yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Shake offset. Shake offset. There is a shake offset here. Yeah. Here, shake offset. Bind it to time, not frames. If you must do it in engine code, bind it to time, not frames. Well, we moved it to the step function. This stuff here. So basically, only in the logic frames, it will update the shaker. Right. If you must do it in engine code, bind it to time, not frames. So shake offset. So I guess he refers to this guy here. Is that right? He says amplitude. Where's this amplitude? Is there any amplitude anywhere here? Let me see. There's no amplitude. What is he referring to? I suspect he refers to this, but I'm really not sure. Maybe he copied it from like an AI. Maybe he asked AI how should it be implemented, and the AI gave this kind of answer, and then he copy pasted it, because it's not in the code. The code looks like this, unless I'm missing here. Let's search for time elapsed, if that is near that shaker. No. I have no idea what he's referring to exactly. I suspect this one, but it's not clear because his code does not reflect the code of the actual game. So this is made up. Shake offset. So it can only be this here. Okay, so he says to multiply this by the frame time. Yes, we can do that. I mean, we can test it and see how it looks. I mean, we know that this here worked, right? Yeah. Good. Let me comment this out, and we move it back into here. It was in here, right? Yeah, so let me put that down here. So that's what we had before. I will comment this out. Okay, and then the recal camera, it goes in here. Okay, and so he says we need to multiply this guy. Yeah. Frequency, time elapsed. Spring is so stiff it pulls 180 degrees opposite each frame. Each frame. Oof. Yeah, the problem with this is but that doesn't work because yeah, this needs more changes because if we alternate this thing every frame, this is alternating, right? The value is flipping from one side to the other, right? So and this is done every frame. So if you have this on like 90 frames per second, then the shake will be super fast, right? Because yeah, the flipping happens 90 times a second instead of 30 times a second, right? So you have some really shaky shake. So just modifying this, it won't achieve anything. I don't see. I don't think that the suggestion is correct. There probably is a way to do it here, but I don't think that this is correct here. I don't know how he came up with that. Given this is written with code that is unrelated to the game, I suggest he asked AI, and AI gave this suggestion, and then he put it here. That's the way I see it. My suggestion would be for Alcatraz to elaborate here on the suggestion and be more specific of how to write this update in order to make the shake correct in the render update. I don't think it's necessary because if the shake intensity is only modified in the logic frame, it's fine. Is there any benefit? Let's think about this. Is there any benefit of having the shake what is the benefit if there was just in the render update having the shake in the render update? What is the benefit? Just like conceptually, I wonder. I mean the intensity and the offset updates. What is the benefit? Because effectively, this one needs to be bound to logic frames. This one here as well, otherwise it damps down too fast because the intensity, it will multiply by 3/4 every frame. So the shake intensity, if you have it in the render update, this will cool down much quicker. And this, yeah, this is just the position depending on this intensity and here these values. All right. So, okay, so if this is moved, I guess the benefit if this was in the render update would be that the movement left and right of the shake would be smoother. right? So you could have like steps between these. So right now it's just alternating from left to right, right? Here on the shake. So we could have steps in between these. How would we implement that? So you said amplitude, frequency, time lapse. Where's this initial value coming from? What is this? Angle. Impulse. It would mean we have to move the angle. Shake angle. Okay, so the first thing we would have to do, we would have to add a new real here and call it M shake angle, right? Okay, and then we would here just set the angle. Like so. Okay, and then with that angle, it would then go here and have the cos shake angle and the sin shake angle. Yeah, okay, and now we would have to now what? We would have to so basically we would have to multiply it. Like there needs to be would somehow have to multiply it from -1 to +1, right? To get this range, the alternating range. How do we do that? Could also use a we could use a so he suggested have a frequency, right? So you can shake frequency, yeah. Okay, let's go back to the shake. So we would say here, shake frequency, we start with 1, yeah, 1 not 0. Actually, let's start with start with sine. Do we have a delta time in here? We don't. Yeah, we don't have a delta time in our updates. That's not so great. Can I get current FPS? How about we get current frame time in here? Do we have something frame time? We do. Oof, but it returns an integer. Oof. Oof. So this get current FPS, what is this bullshit? Current FPS. Elapsed seconds. Why is this a double? How about we make a real here? FPS history. Okay, how about we have a double current, let's have frame time. We say frame time equals elapsed seconds. Now we can also just replace it directly. I don't know, let's keep it separate for now. Okay, then we add a new function here, virtual. Let's use double. Get frame time. Current frame time. Get current frame time. How about we just say get frame time? It only say it's current. Get frame time. Frame time. Double. I'll go to display. And here we also do zero. Okay, and then we go back to our view. Here. Okay, so we have let's take a real frame time equals the display get frame time. And then we basically frequency. We do frequency plus equal that, and then we do here times sine shake frequency. Okay, is that somehow similar to what he suggested? Somewhat. Time elapsed frequency. Somewhat similar to what he suggested. Yeah. Okay, and so then we no longer do this here, yeah, because that is already implicit in here, yeah, because that should alternate. And but I think it's still wrong because I think it's wrong because. So we expect that in one logic frame, we go from -1 to 1 and vice versa. All right. So that means we need to add sinus wraps at pi, right? They wrap at pi. I think so. Let me see. Sine graph. Sine pi. Ah, no, then we have to go. So we start here. Maybe we should use cos. Yeah, cos. We use cos, and that from 0 to pi. Okay, let's use cos. Okay, and so basically we need to increase the frequency by pi every logic frame. So that would be min game engine gets well, we need to divide it by gets current FPS. Let's copy it from here. So basically we need to add pi times that, right? But it looks like it would work, but I wonder. Okay, let's test that. Where's the other? Yeah, okay, it's commented out. Yeah, I'm not so sure if that's great. I don't know. Okay, there's some error. Oh. Let's set the frequency to 0. The problem with this implementation is that the frequency eventually does it hit the outer edges? Like, it's possible that it doesn't reach -1 and 1 anymore after the cosinus function, and that you don't get the shake to the full extent, but you get it like in between. Right? So the shake looks, it's smoother. The shake is smooth, but maybe you don't get such a strong shake anymore. I'm not sure. Okay, let's make a test here. Control S. Let's get the radar van here. Okay, so frame rate is 90 and logic 30. Yeah, good. So get the Scud Storm and shoot. Yeah, there's not much shaking. Let me put a breakpoint here. So this will be 3.3, yeah. So the shake frequency will now be 1. And so this will also be then somewhere at, I don't know, somewhere below 1. Yeah. It doesn't look that great because I think the problem with this implementation is that this frequency, you don't get to the outer edges anymore. Whereas here, you're guaranteed to get to the outer edges. So the shake will here be more intense, right? So I'm really not sure about this, yeah. Shake looks kind of lame. Yeah. I suspect that there could also be a problem with the shake frequency being reset. Reset when a new shake comes in, so it goes to 0, right? And then a new shake starts at the same. Well, no, then the angle is also randomized again. I don't know. It seems that it's not really worth it. All this extra fluff here. I don't know, it's... Maybe... Maybe we do it differently. We don't use cos here. We say shake frequency plus equal this ratio. And then we say we keep this angle cos, angle sin, and then we say if if shake frequency is larger than 1.0f, yeah, which basically means that one logic frame has advanced, yeah, then it will alternate these guys like this, and then we deduct let's say larger equal that, and then we deduct 1 from it. Could do that. I suspect that this will look a bit better, because now it will definitely go to the very edges of the shake angle. Yeah. Will this be a better implementation? I don't think so. I think it will look essentially the exact same as before to the human eye. So I think there's nothing really. Actually, hold on. Okay, but this really doesn't change anything at all from the previous implementation. From the one where it's in the logic update, because now we don't get any movement in between here, right? It's always a fixed angle, and the shake is kind of, yeah, I suspect that this looks now very similar to when we had it in the logic update. Oh, worker so slow. Okay, so we got that. Let's get the radar van. Okay. Yeah, this looks familiar. I think the implementation having this, I don't agree with this suggestion here. The problem is, like, if you make the shake more smooth, then it's not as impressive anymore. The shake looks smooth, and yeah, maybe it's mathematically more accurate, and super great smooth shake on every frame. On high frame rates you get the super smooth shake, and but it's a shake needs to be sudden, and if the shake is going from one frame to the other and it changes position real fast, and the shake is much more impressive. So I don't agree with this suggestion here. If he likes, he can make a pull request and present it, and I will test it and take a look at it. But right now I'm not seeing it. If you make the shake smooth, it changes the look of the shake. And I think the intention is that the camera is supposed to move sudden from one frame to another, right? You want it to alternate from one side to the other, from one frame to the other. And you don't want to smooth, lerp the camera movement in between. You don't want to do that. It needs to be sudden. So I don't see it. I don't see it. But yeah, as I said, make a pull request and I will check it out. Maybe it looks amazing. But I think the way we have it right now is fine. So I will revert this experiment and leave it at that. Okay. Is there anything else that we can maybe look at or fix it? I mean, there's probably still a lot more stuff that can be moved to frame rate independent update. Yeah. But I think as long as there's nothing egregiously bad, like for example, when you restart a game, right? The control bar comes up with the animation. Like this, for example, is something that is different on lower frame rates, right? Here. So here it moves much slower, but I don't think we care much about that. Same with this here, this transition. If we have a higher frame rate, the transition is much faster, but maybe that's also desirable. Have it fast, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so I think what we should do now is create a new branch. From main branch. Create branch. Let's do decouple frame rates. Let's say logic render. Okay, decouple logic render, and then we say yeah, we cherry pick this guy. Fix inaccurate frame rate cap. Okay, that's fair enough. Hold on, what do we have in our stash here? Okay. Good. Cherry pick, automatically create a commit. Okay, then we have this guy. Decouple this. Okay, I would say we cherry pick this commit and we don't submit it. Just do that. Then we do the same here. Then we do the same here. And here. And here. Okay, now we have a bunch of changes, and let's try to split them up into smaller, nice units. Yeah. Okay, so we have the frame rate limit, which is adding a bunch of classes here. So I would say we take these guys. We take this guy. We take these guys. We take all this bullshit here. No. And this here. Then we take these guys. Oh, here we have some commented stuff. Okay, let's remove that. Okay, fair enough. Okay, that looks good. Fantastico. Okay, and then we have this guy. Change logic timescale. Change max render FPS. Okay. Good. So zoom height. Da-dum. Zoom height. Zoom. Maybe on the zoom height thingy, we can be a bit more fancy and also put a plus here. No, it's not necessary, but maybe it's good. Makes the intent more clear that this is meant to be positive. Why is this necessary here? I think we can revert this again. Good. Then I think we can have here a tweak FPS, decouple logic frame rates from render frame rates. Okay, and then next change, we do decoupling for the camera movements. Yeah, which is this one here. Oof. Okay, we need this one here. Yeah, now it would be good to know how to split these guys up. Oh boy. So basically there were multiple things with the camera stuff. There was this bullshit here. I think we need to clean up here a little bit. Ah, that's camera shaker. Let's on stage that. Okay, so basically here we pass a different frame length. Yeah. Was that all that was needed for the camera movement? Or was there more? We also need to include this guy, yeah. We also need this here. Let's reset this change. Should we maybe reset all these guys here? We need this here. I would say we reset these guys here. Let me make it a bit larger. Okay, so basically, here we pass in the modified frame time, Z ratio, and I wonder. I wonder if we should create another function for this so it's easier to use this thing. So in game engine, we have a get logic, timescale, FPS to, how do we call it? Timescale to FPS ratio. Get the over FPS ratio. Get actual logic timescale over FPS ratio. Get the actual get the real logic timescale over render FPS ratio. Use used to scale the logic frames within, let's say, the scale used to scale updates, used to scale render updates to match logic updates. Used to scale down render updates to match logic updates. Or let's say to scale down steps in render updates to match logic updates. And then in there we well, we and there we take this guy here. Okay, mention. Where are we? Here. Okay, mention return. Min. Okay, and then we can go back here, and now let's search for all these occurrences. And then we replace this with what's that function? And then we just simplify this like so. Oh, that's okay, we cache the value here, it's okay. Over. Decouples camera rotation and zoom from render FPS. Decouples camera zoom from render FPS. some heights. Okay. Okay, then I think we should first see if it compiles. Okay, and then we also merge this one down. Maybe we should also explain why it does min 1. Maybe that's not quite straightforward. Super hackers add in for min 1 minimum 1 because the clamps ratio to min 1 because the logic frame rate is capped by the render frame rates. Ah, shit. Now we lose our edit. Clamps ratio to min 1 because the logic frame rate is capped by the render frame rate. Clamps ratio to min 1 because the logic frame rate is capped by the render frame rates. Yeah, so if the logic frame rate could shoot over the render frame rate, then this would not be here, which makes me wonder. Actual logic timescale FPS. Yeah. Do we use this here for anything? Just for debug. That's fine. Yeah, so if logic frame rate could be faster than render frame rate, then this would be wrong. Well, that would be the case if we don't have a renderer to begin with, right? Then the rendering will be 0. Render FPS 0. And logic will be whatever. But I don't think we need to account for that here. Get frames per second limit. No, I think it's fine. let's say typically. Okay. Okay, we should probably restart Visual Studio. Good. Then, yeah, so we now need to find like the proper steps to merge these guys in steps, right? Oof. This will be quite a bit annoying, yeah. Was there anything else? I think that's all that's needed for the camera, for the scripted camera. So let's say tweak FPS. Let's say tweak camera, decouple scripted camera movement from scripted camera movements from render FPS or from render updates. Render FPS, it's still in the render updates. It's a scripted camera movement step from render FPS. Decouple scripted camera movement step from render FPS. I think that makes sense. Okay, let's stash the other changes that we currently have and compile it and then run it. What's the time? 2 hours. Yeah. Fails. That's not good. Okay, what did we do? Probably some silly mistake. Zoom in. Well, it's here. Zoom in. What's the problem? Zoom in. Zoom in. Huh? It's probably just a compile error somewhere, right? Error. Aha. Step. Aha. Ah. 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 Aha. We should probably remove this. Then we do a advanced fix up. Okay. Then we do a squash. Then we add these guys again. Well, we comment it out for now. Okay, so the expectation is that the camera update is okay. Right, the camera movement we expect that is okay. Let's see. Yeah. Yep, so camera movement looks perfectly fine. Let's increase. Oh. We still have the other issue because that needs fixing as well. Maybe we should decouple the other thing first. Yeah. Let me reset current branch to here. And we put this here back. and we stash pop. We can't stash pop? Why not? Ah, shit. Okay. Dummy. Stash pop. Reset. No. Okay, what I think what we should do first is we should first do this guy here. This guy. This guy and this and this. And this. This one. Looks like we need this one here. Step. Okay, is that all? So basically what we fixed here was if we decoupled the display sync from the frame rates. What happens inside this function? Okay. So I think we simply say tweak FPS, decouple this sync from render FPS. Or from render updates. Decouple this sync from render updates. Did we forget anything? Ah, we forgot this here. Okay, that should be it. Decoupler, 3D sync from render updates. Okay, let's commit that. Let's stash the current changes and compile and see when compiles and if it runs. Okay, let's continue next session with this. I think we'll take a break now. Yeah. Actually, let's test it very quick. Okay, so the camera freezing should be gone now, right? There we go. Ah, did we? Yeah, we did show. Yeah. Okay, and if we now decrease the logic update, then this doesn't work correctly. Yeah. The camera is moving too slow, essentially. Good, but that's the right step. Good, then we continue next session with the submission of the changes. Put them into individual commits. Okay, good. Then I wish you a great day or night until next time. Goodbye.